Hi, welcome to Positively Sparking, a podcast on internet marketing, online productivity, and business. Today I'm with Tony Robinson, OBE, and founder of MicroBiz Matters Day. Tony has been selflessly promoting the cause of microbusinesses now for over 21 years. And in this podcast, we're going to tap into his expert mind about how microbusinesses can work together and learn how to be a great business in themselves. Hi Tony, how are you?
I'm great today, Phil, and you?
Pretty good. We're talking there a little bit before we started about the cold wind everywhere.
I'm on my sunbed in Scarborough drinking cocktails at the moment. It's fantastic.
Wow, that's a great advert for Scarborough. So Tony, I know quite a bit about you through our mutual great friend Joe Harrison. For those of us who don't know you, just tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, I'm a pretty old geezer now with a fairly dodgy beard, and I've been running my own businesses for 31 years with my wonderful business partner, Claire Francis. And the last 21 years, I suppose I've become known as the microbusiness champion because I've devoted a lot of my free time over those 21 years to trying to improve the survival and growth prospects of micro business owners. That's those between 0 and 9 employees. Quite a
course to get involved in. So Tony, you were on board with the idea of a micro business very, very early, 21 years ago. That's as long as some people have been alive these days, isn't it? And
yeah, I mean, it was an accident, really. I was our own business had only done work with large organisations since we founded it in 1986, and one of those large organisations we got involved in working with was the government, the Department for Business and Department for Education. And we actually found that the support being provided to small and micro business owners and the learning was of very poor quality, Phil. And the reason for that was that the advisors and consultants were giving startups and micro business owners advice based on what they thought was appropriate from almost like business school thinking. From large company thinking, boiled down processes, which of course, as you'll know, just doesn't work in a micro business. And so we set about improving the learning and support in the UK, advising government, various things, campaigning for change, and eventually it did improve through the enterprise agency networks in the UK, and then Business Link came about. So we did make substantial progress, and we've continued that work all the time. Even when we haven't had government contracts, we've put in lots of our own time to try and suggest solutions and create new ways. And I've founded a number of organisations, the SFEDI Group, which is to improve the standards of business support and training throughout the UK. And the Institute of Enterprise and Entrepreneurs, which is where those people that gain qualifications in business support and business ownership actually have their own institute as well. So that's really me. It's something I'm passionate about because I just think that starting and running your own micro business, Phil, is as important as any other career. And now that 1 in 6 of the adult workforce in the UK are actually running their own businesses, we really do need to treat it seriously as a career for people to earn their own living. The startup rates will continue to increase every year because the corporates are in meltdown regarding jobs.
Absolutely, Tony. I mean, you gave a great history there of yourself and some wonderful insights into micro businesses and why they're important and why we need to focus time onto them. So from all of that, all of those years working with the government and trying to help them provide better support, how did that lead to MicroBiz Matters Day itself?
Okay. Well, about 6-7 years ago, I realized that government were pulling back from generic support to startups and micro business owners. You may remember the Business Link network, and that was disbanded, and a number of other things I'd been involved in, like the University for Industry and Learn Direct used to have premier business centres helping people, particularly with digital skills, if you like, in micro businesses. All these things were pulled, hundreds of millions of pounds worth of effort gone in, and I realised that it was unlikely that government would put in much effort anymore into supporting micro business owners. They'd be interested in those that they could get scale up, to use the word, if you like, get them to grow. And they'd be interested in kind of techie businesses that they thought were capable of scale up at startup. But they weren't going to be that interested in the 5.2 million normal micro businesses. So we created 5 years ago, after about a year or so of testing, a self-help movement, nothing to do with governments, called the Enterprise Rockers. And after a couple of years of building it, we felt in a position to create our very first annual MicroBiz Matters Day. So that's how it started.
An amazing thing to do, Tony. I remember the first time Joe told me about the event that you've been putting on now for a few years in London.
Yeah, and 3 years, yeah.
3 years, okay. And it just sounded like the right event at the right time. We'd seen a growth in the idea of remote working and location independence and people perhaps balancing work and lifestyle a bit more than they had done in the past. So how was that very first event? How did it go?
Well, it was a bit strange because we decided to have it on this second Friday of the year. So it would be a kick-off event for the year, if you like. Everybody's just got back into the groove, if you like, and we thought that'd be a good day. Well, that happened to be Tina Burden, my co-founder of Enterprise Rockers and MicroBiz Matters Day, birthday, but she was actually in France skiing at the time. So thanks to a wonderful guy called Paul Lancaster, we actually used Google Hangouts as the way of actually doing it. We managed to get Sage to talk to Google themselves, and we actually did the first one from with me as the only person there, linked into lots of people through Hangouts, or famous friends that we had came in as studio guests, if you like. And we had our first global MicroBiz Matters Day with 8 hours of learning, and today it's still 8 hours of learning, but it is a social media event, Phil. I mean, I think the important thing to recognize is that the 8 hours of learning and all our famous friends, business owners coming in to give tips and various things, that's just a bonus. The big thing is for everybody to give some time around the world to help another microbiz owner on that day. And so, for example, this year, we actually trended for nearly 24 hours because there was so much activity around the world, if you like, trended on Twitter, people actually helping each other, just giving some time to help each other. So it's a bonus is the event, and it was very scrappy that first year. It looks really professional now, but it was we are very informal. We're fairly mad, really, because we know that these things only work by really positive word of mouth, and you couldn't do it if it wasn't the age of social media, Phil. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, I do. Well, I remember when your event was on this year and how much your hashtags were just trending. So you had the MicroBiz Matters Day hashtag itself, but then one of the other hashtags was it Giving 13?
I gave 13, yes.
I gave 13.
It was on the 13th, so it's I gave 13, yeah. I gave 13 minutes, I gave 13 tips, I gave, 13 customers a visit, whatever it may be that would actually help, yeah.
And one of the great things about your event that you've just reflected on there is the fact that it is fun and accessible. Yeah. It removes barriers. There's so many networking events which for a brand new business seem out of touch because they seem too formal, or they seem to be targeted at a level that they don't yet feel they're at. So yours is so open and
Thank
so,
you, Phil.
So friendly. I think it's a great start for anyone who's
Well,
out there
that's
trying
great.
to grow.
One of the things that we realized with Enterprise Rockers, which a lot of people find difficult to understand, but I think you've articulated that really well, Phil. It does need to be fun because it's informal and it's not a business. So it's not competitive, if you like. One of the reasons that a lot of organizations don't get engagement is because they are terrifically parochial, if you like, and they're not informal, they're not fun. It's people don't volunteer. We rely on lots and lots and lots of volunteers to make it a successful day. And so if they're not having fun, and if it's in any way competitive, it just won't work. We rely very much on the fact that the business membership networks, Federation of Small Business in the UK, for example, Federation of Small Businesses, Forum for Private Businesses, IPSI, the one for self-employed people, Enterprise Nation, all of these organizations are willing to promote it to their members. It's an added value thing for their members, so it's fun. And that's why we reach, I'm sure every corporate in the world would love to reach an audience that we reach on MicroBiz Matters Day. But you couldn't do it if you're actually selling something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does, because it's that great coming together of people who are sharing their business experience of being a microbiz that makes it work. There is no sell there. There is no upsell afterwards. It's all about the sharing.
Yeah.
And the best moments on social media, I believe, Tony, are always human. They're not business. They're connecting us via the fact that we're all alive and trying to live the best life we can, whether that's business or life.
It isn't a broadcast mechanism, is it? It works well when it's an engagement, and people actually, talking to each other through social media. I think it's fantastic.
It is, definitely. So, Tony, your event has grown dramatically year on year. Mm-hmm. Is this event growth down to MicroBiz numbers growing, or is it the word is spreading about what you do and they were already there?
Yeah, no, I think it's about the number of micro business owners getting involved across the world. I mean, certainly there was a lot more activity in America this year than the previous 2 years, which is just fantastic. There are a lot more city parties. In other words, people are now looking forward to the event. Does that make sense? And so there's like a Tina Bowden and a Tony Robinson springing up in different cities. So, for example, Hull held a 5-hour event. Hull is City of Culture this year, and it held a 5-hour event at the KC is, the big sponsors, if you like, of Hull. But the city council, the universities, the schools, they all got involved in this event. In Manchester, they held an event. So, do you know what I mean? There's people anticipating it now. It's a heck of a lot easier, I tell you what, because people are actually looking forward to it. And I think because none of us really know what's going to happen. We know who we're going to link. We know who we're going to link in with, and we know all the famous friends that attract people want to see and talk to. But it is. Yeah, it's pretty chaotic, and so I think people actually look forward to the day itself, getting a momentum itself. But now they're planning their own parties and things like that. So next year, for example, January the 12th, next year, second Friday, as you remember, so it'll be I Gave 12. There'll be a lot more places actually planning their own event, if you like, as well. So that's great.
It certainly is, Tony. Isn't that amazing to see those parties popping up on local levels? That must be great for you.
Oh, it's brilliant. And I mean, I've mentioned the big membership organizations, but there's lots of local networks where you are, if you like, that will will just participate in the day and do something. They'll meet in a pub or a cafe. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be anything major, but that's increasing all the time. And I think everybody gets it now. It's just a day about recognition, action. Yeah, I gave 13 or I gave 12, and learning. And that's those 8 hours, if you like, that people can tune into if they want to, and they can look at it on YouTube, or they can look at it on Facebook Live, or whatever they want. But as I say, most people are just actually happy to get together as a group and celebrate MicroBiz Matters Day, and that's just fine. Help each other. That's all it's about.
Great stuff. So you've mentioned there how much you have enjoyed seeing those local groups kind of pop up for the day. What else were your favourite moments of this year's events?
I think that's easy, really, for anybody that attended Pimlico Plumbers this year, because Charlie Mullins, I must say, he's been at all three MicroBiz Matters days today, and it was fantastic of him to open up Pimlico Plumbers. But at the end, in our entertainment hour, somebody, a very famous rapper called Sway, who'd supported the previous 2 years, couldn't come because of work commitment. Oh, no, that's fine. I mean, everybody's giving up their time voluntarily.
Sure.
We're just so grateful. Whoever arrives on the day is absolutely great. And Kanya King, who founded the MOBO Awards, and was our inspiration behind MicroBiz Matters Day. She did attend, and that's absolutely fantastic, and was absolutely brilliant. But the highlight, I think, for everybody was at 3:00, at the end of the day, we had a 19-year-old busker that we'd found in Leicester Square 2 nights before. We'd been in London for 3 nights, and we'd found this busker, 19-year-old busker called Murdo MacLeod, and we asked him to do a few numbers, and he got a standing ovation. The place went absolutely wild, and so that was totally impromptu, and it was, we paid his taxi and brought him up and let him. And he really enjoyed 3 hours before he actually came on. But it was fantastic. And Charlie Mullins must have let about 30 or 40 of his staff sort of like pack in for the day and start. It was a party that, like all good parties, just spontaneously happened, if you like. And so that was my highlight. And of course, buskers are a big part of MicroBiz Matters Day. People in the entertainment industry, actors, musicians, entertainers of all kind. They're all microbiz owners, if you like, and very important.
Absolutely, Tony. So is there anywhere we can check out Murdo MacLeod, was it? Online? Yeah,
Murdo MacLeod. Yeah, well, if you go to the microbizmattersday.rocks website, you'll actually be able to follow him. You'll be able to see his performance. I think some highlights of his performance. But we've actually put his details up on the site but he is in Leicester Square, so it's not that difficult to find him.
You'll find
That's
him.
where he's busking every single day in Leicester Square.
Fantastic.
It's brilliant.
So Tony, earlier on we were talking about how social media is so important for you, and you mentioned that you don't even think it would be possible to run the day without social media.
Yeah.
How else did you promote this year's event?
Yeah, well, this is where I guess a lot of the learning has come from over the 21 years we've been doing this kind of thing. We make sure that we can say to everybody that we don't collect any contact details of anybody. Everything we do is free. Everything we do is informal, so that nobody can think that their customers or their members are being taken by us. Does that make sense? So the major way of promotion is actually through the membership organizations that I've mentioned, but also through large corporations to their customers. And we've been very lucky. We've had Microsoft, we've had Google, Sage, who you probably have heard of, have supported us all 3 years. And they actually broadcast the day to their customers, if you like. Their customers don't need to go anywhere else but their website for blogs and information and various things. So all of these, Fujitsu held our press conference the day before, which obviously helps in the promotion as well, getting stuff out through the press. And Fujitsu held that, and ScanSnap were our premier partners for the event, which is a Fujitsu company providing fantastic scanners for MicroBiz owners. And so they actually helped promote it to all of their hundreds of thousands of customers. 123 Reg, who are the, I'm not trying to plug these organizations, but I'm just trying to say that we couldn't have done it without them. 123 Reg are the largest domain name and web hosting company in the UK, and they again, helped with the event and the whole day. And again, they produced videos, and I gave 13 videos for their customers linked to MicroBiz Matters Day, and did all the broadcasting to. They've got over 1 million customers in the UK. Does that make sense? So that's how we get this wide broadcast promotion effect. At the end of the day, it's only Tina Bowden and I and 20 what we call head roadies that give up a full day of the day. Joe Harrison is one of those fantastic people who give up their time. So there's only 22 people that are actually putting on the day. But we rely very much on all of these organizations saying, hey, this is just a good idea. This would be good for our customers and members, and we'll promote it. So the media have been great as well. All of the small business media have been fantastic as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's great to hear of those big companies like Google, Sage, 123 Reg, looking to support MicroBiz, which they're almost the opposite of in the type of organisation they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is really important. I mean, I don't know if you seen things like the digital garage that Google do and various
it's a great thing.
I mean, I think the quality of training that 123 Reg did a fantastic thing about how to make sure your presence on Google, if you're a local business selling something, is absolutely perfect, for example. Brilliant video. Nothing to do with really selling 123 Reg services, if you like, but all of these things are just about giving some added value to the, of course, what they're gaining is trust from the MicroBiz owner community. So it's worth it to them, but it's very important to us because, I mean, look at Facebook, isn't it? I mean, Zuckerberg's one of the 8 wealthiest people in the world, isn't he, for example? We need these large corporations to actually be spending some time thinking about their MicroBiz owner customers, and that's great.
Absolutely. And so, Tony, you mentioned there how all these great companies are offering their tips and advice to MicroBiz, and I wanted to ask you, as pretty much the expert in MicroBiz, I would say, 21 years in the game, what advice would you give a brand new MicroBiz?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to be aware of the facts. It's very easy to get, what can I say, process-oriented. If you watch reality television, then, for example, you'll get a feeling that what you do is you come up with a business idea, you pitch for funding, you get funding, you get a mentor, and off you go, and then you get this kind of upward growth over a period of time. And of course, it doesn't happen like that at all. It's a very up and down process, and it requires lots of test trading.
Yes.
You're also best at the beginning not to take on investors. We call it bootstrap, don't borrow, if you like, because until you've got customers that you can learn from, you won't really know what your sales are going to be or how much income you're going to get out of it or what you're going to do. So, the business plan is actually overrated, frankly. So are mentors. Mentors are great if it's somebody who understands the context of the business you're actually about to run and has probably got experience in running something similar to that, if you like. But at the beginning, surround yourself with people that have got real experience. They've got the T-shirt, if you like. They can give advice, but it's all about test trading. It's all about testing lots of things. And don't be afraid to, for example, have a part-time job at the same time as you're starting your business, for example. You need income to make ends meet at the beginning, yeah? And it is this testing, seeing what works, asking customers that have liked something and building that kind of way. So it's all about building customers, if you like, and that's the most important thing. Everybody on MicroBiz Matters Day throughout the world has agreed, and this is just to make the point, that the two things that are absolutely essential to every microbiz owner to concentrate all of their time on are winning and keeping customers. That's one, yeah, and the other is managing the cash flow and keeping the cash flow going, yeah. And so that would be my advice. Bootstrap, don't borrow. Ask another business owner for help. And keep test trading and asking customers.
Great advice, Tony. The business plan will not go to plan.
Exactly. I haven't come across one in all those years that has gone to plan, Bill, but that's okay. You've got an idea of where you want to go, and then it's about learning by doing, isn't it?
It is. And, in my world of digital marketing, it's exactly the same. We can come up with great ideas in the beginning about how we think something is going to succeed, but it's only when we try and we kind of record what's going on our site and look at our conversions that we actually learn what the formula can be to make a business succeed online. It's very similar in some ways.
Has your business changed? How long has your business been going, Phil?
Well, this current one is now 3 years old, but my world of digital marketing, which I've been in for 22 years, has changed so much. It changes every year, Tony. There's a new avenue for marketing. There's a new opportunity every year. And then another opportunity tends to kind of get over diluted and disappears. So it's what I love about it as well. I'm someone who likes to learn new things all the time, and I get a bit of a kick out of testing and finding a way through what might work for someone versus someone else. And so we all have different talents, don't we, Tony? That's the other thing I would add to what you said. Yes. Play on your talents. Don't try and learn something you're not naturally aligned to. Go with something you're good at.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that comes across when we do our question and answers with, even very famous business owners that have all grown through the microbiz stage, if you like, is that all of them, none of them will ever say it's about get rich quick. It's all about having something that you are passionate about doing, which gives you the persistence, if you like, to work very hard, if you like. So, build it around your talent. Otherwise, you won't enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, then you're not going to be persistent enough, hardworking enough, if you like, to make it succeed. So I agree entirely with you, Phil.
Yeah, what's the point, Tony, if we're not having fun?
Yeah, exactly.
So all of this great work that you're doing with MicroBiz kind of causes and campaigning and MicroBiz Matters Day, what do you hope all of those micro businesses gain from that?
Well, I think it's just as the work you're doing, if you like, in helping businesses make connections through digital marketing and social media and the customers of the future, we're in our own way trying to. We founded Enterprise Rockers as this informal movement to make microbiz owners around the world as much as we can self-reliant. In other words, don't expect anything from government. Yeah. don't actually expect anything from large corporations. We've talked about a number that are microbiz friendly, but there are a lot of large, I don't think we would think our energy companies, our rail companies, there's lots of examples that we could say that are probably not very microbiz owner friendly. So one of the things that we're trying to do is create this community so that people are able to realize that they're actually not so much in competition with other micro business owners. They can actually help the community of micro business owners to succeed together. So, for example, we encourage people, we call it Indie 25, which is, make sure that your purchases, 25% of your purchases every week are from other independent businesses, for example. Pay in 30 days. Make sure that you pay all your suppliers within 30 days, if you like. Does that make sense, Phil? So we're trying to just build it. It's a bit like we'll never know what the impact is, and we could never afford to measure it. But we just feel that, and we do get some fantastic feedback, and that's what keeps Tina Bode and I going, and Joe and all the other people that have volunteered to help us, because we do get some feedback. I mean, we've had lots of people just say, actually, it's just made me feel more confident about the year ahead, and that's good enough, isn't it? So it's about building our community and actually realizing, because micro business owners do put more into their local communities as well than larger businesses as well. So it's a very important thing for us to recognize that, actually, we're all in this together. It's a good idea to work together and help each other and collaborate and do things together.
I think you're right, Tony. And those two big points you made there about paying 30 days, that's one that helps the point you mentioned earlier, cash flow.
Yeah.
And buying from other micro businesses and buying locally, that helps with customers. Yeah. So I can see how everything that you're promoting there fits in with the concepts that you want to educate every micro biz about. So all great stuff. And as for confidence, Tony, I'd even say that's 50% at least, maybe even more, of being successful. It's so important.
Yeah, I think so. And isn't it great that, who are the best teachers, really? It's other business owners, isn't it?
Yes.
We are the best at, if you remember where we started out in this interview, and I was saying that, 21 years ago, it was all big company boiled down business training, if you like, that wasn't really appropriate for most micro business owners and startups, if you like. But if you're actually asking for help from another business owner, you're only going to get practical, proven in practice assistance to help you survive and thrive. And that's great. So it's about talking to each other, and that'll build your confidence, won't it, that you're saying?
Absolutely. It certainly will, Tony. So all of these great things that you do, where can we find you online?
Well, my website's TonyRobinsonOBE.com. MicroBiz Matters Day is microbizmattersday.rocks. Those would be the two places I would suggest you go. And there's obviously all of the information on both of those sites is absolutely free, and probably everything that we know about micro businesses, particularly in the UK, is there as well. So there's some great learning, some great help, and some great signposting of maybe where you could go if we don't answer the questions on the website.
Two great resources, and your MicroBiz Matters Day site being a .rocks, I'm going to guess that might be a Joe Harrison site, or at least influenced.
It is all thanks to Joe Harrison, and she's absolutely amazing. And I must say that one of the reasons that this year's was successful is she persuaded another 13 virtual assistant friends of hers to give up most of the day to actually help her in retweeting and getting all the social media activity going. And the microbizmattersday.rock site, well, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I know I'm biased, but that is all down to Joe's fantastic work. Yeah.
Great stuff. Brilliant. So, Tony, I've really enjoyed chatting with you today. What a great podcast. Some wonderful tips.
It's been lovely.
Great insights. Is there any final message you want to give everybody?
Just keep rocking, Phil. That's what we should do.
Well, that's a great phrase to end any podcast, any message at all, indeed. Tony, it's been so good having you here. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time. I wish you a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you, Phil.
My name is Phil Byrne, and I'd like to thank you so much for listening today. I hope you got something really good to take away from this week's episode for you or your business. And you know what? I'd like to give you something more. In fact, I'd like to give you a whole free web marketing pack full of all my latest and best ideas on how you can take your business forward positively online. Download your pack at positivesparks.co.uk/pack. And most of all, guys, look forward to seeing you again next week.